The confession is this: it almost worked. Not the cancellation. The sequence, the specific, documented, multi-institution, multi-instrument, FCC plus Nexstar plus Truth Social plus White House briefing sequence that arrived in the first 2 weeks of September 2025 and produced on September 17th the specific, formal, institutional announcement from ABC that Jimmy Kimmel Live would be preempted indefinitely. The announcement that Trump read from Truth Social that night in the specific, triumphant, all-capitals register of a man who has been trying to make this moment happen since at least 2019, and who had, on the night of September 17th, the document he had been waiting for, a network statement, an indefinite suspension, and the word canceled deployed in his own Truth Social post in the specific, final, "this is over" register of someone who has decided the fight is done. Great news for America. The ratings challenge Jimmy Kimmel Show is canceled. He posted it. He put "canceled" in all capitals. He said, "Congratulations to ABC for finally having the courage to do what had to be done." The confession is that he was wrong about the courage and wrong about what had been done. But he was not wrong about the sequence. The sequence had worked. The FCC chair had threatened. The Nexstar affiliates had complied. The ABC announcement had been made. The show had been pulled. The word "canceled" was in the Truth Social post. And for approximately 6 days, from the evening of September 17th to the morning of September 23rd, the specific, documented, institutionally confirmed suspension of the most watched late-night show in American television was the operational reality of the situation. Then Kimmel came back. This is the story of the 6 days and what happened inside them, and why the specific, documented content of those 6 days is more damaging to the administration that produced the suspension than anything Kimmel had said in the 3 years of monologues that the administration had been trying to silence. The parallel tracks run from the September 15th monologue to the September 23rd return. Track 1, the administration. Track 2, the institution. The administration track. September 15th, Kimmel's monologue included remarks about Charlie Kirk's alleged killer, Tyler Robinson. The specific, contextual, late-night commentary about a man who had killed a prominent Trump supporter, and who, in the specific documented register of the commentary, Kimmel noted had himself been active in MAGA spaces in ways that complicated the administration's preferred framing of the killing as politically motivated anti-conservative violence. The FCC chairman posted within 48 hours. He said, "We can do things the easy way or the hard way." He said it on a conservative podcast in the specific regulatory pressure register of a federal official, reminding private broadcast companies that they hold licenses the federal government issues and that the federal government can revoke. Nexstar complied within hours. ABC followed. Trump posted "canceled" that night. The White House was told by ABC that the show was canceled. The president told Truth Social the same. The administration's track had produced the result the administration had been working towards since at least 2019, since the first low-life post, since the first failing ratings post, since the first network embarrassment post, the specific documented public announcement that the show was done. The institution track started the next morning. David Letterman was at the Atlantic Festival in New York City on September 18th. He had received a text from Kimmel that morning. He read the text to the audience, not in the performed, dramatic register of a man making a public statement, but in the flat, wry, completely unhurried register of a man who has been in the institution of late-night television for 33 years, who has been watching a man he respects be suspended by a network that complied with a federal regulator's threat, and who has arrived at the Atlantic Festival with the specific, flat, personal assessment that the situation has produced in him. He said Kimmel's text had told him he's up in bed, taking nourishment. He's going to be fine. He said it in the flat, wry, almost fond register of someone reading a text from a man who is characteristically, genuinely, documentably unbothered by the suspension of his show, whose text does not perform the unbothered quality, but simply is it, in the specific, economical, taking nourishment register of a man who has decided that bed and nourishment are the appropriate response to being canceled by a network that was told to cancel him by a federal regulator, who was told to tell them by an administration that called the show canceled in all capitals on Truth Social. Then Letterman said, "The institution of the President of the United States ought to be bigger than a guy doing a talk show." He said it in the flat, declarative 33 years of late-night register of someone for whom the observation is not a political argument, but a professional finding, the specific institutional assessment of a man who has been a guy doing a talk show for 33 years, and who knows, from the documented inside of that specific professional experience, exactly how big the institution of the presidency is supposed to be, and exactly how small the president would have to be to spend it trying to cancel a guy doing a talk show. He said, "This was predicted by our president right after Stephen Colbert got walked off. You're telling me this isn't premeditated at some level?" He said, "This guy at the FCC said we can do things the easy way or the hard way. Who is hiring these goons?" Mario Puzo. The room laughed. Not in the performed political rally register of an audience that has been primed to respond, but in the specific, involuntary recognition frequency register of people who have been given, in the Mario Puzo line, the single most efficient cultural reference for the specific, documented behavioral grammar of a federal regulator using the language of organized crime to describe the options available to a private broadcaster. Mario Puzo. 2 words. In the flat, wry, completely unbothered register of a 33-year late-night host who found, in the FCC chair's "we can do this the easy way or the hard way" formulation, the specific cultural reference that made the formulation most legible for what it was. Not a regulatory option, but a protection racket. Not a public interest finding, but a compliance demand. Not a broadcast standards concern, but the specific, institutional, documented grammar of a man telling a company, "Nice license you have there." The institution track produced in 6 days more than Letterman. It produced Barack Obama, the 44th President of the United States, in the specific, documented former president register of a man who issued a public statement calling the suspension a capitulation to unconstitutional pressure. It produced 400 entertainers co-signing an ACLU letter within the week. It produced Colbert on his own stage saying, "blatant censorship," in the flat, declarative, one-word sentence register of a man naming what had occurred with the minimum number of words the naming required. It produced a Republican congressman, James Comer of Kentucky, a man whose documented voting record is not typically found on the same side of a question as Jimmy Kimmel, standing on the record to warn against cancellation and defend the show. It produced the specific, documented CBC, Reuters, BBC, NPR, Time Magazine international media coverage of an American president using a federal regulator to pressure a private broadcaster into suspending a late-night comedian. Coverage that placed the suspension in the specific, historically legible context of the documented pattern it represented. Trump had said, "Great news for America." The institution had said, "Controlled media, misery, blatant censorship, capitulation, unconstitutional. Who is hiring these goons?" Mario Puzo. The walk in this script, the beat expanded, is the walk Kimmel took back to his desk on September 23, 2025, 6 days after the suspension, after the canceled all capitals post, after the White House had been told by ABC that the show was done. He walked to the desk. He sat down. He said, "As I was saying," 3 words. In the flat, unhurried, completely unbothered register of a man who has been in bed taking nourishment for 6 days and who has returned to the desk in the specific, wry, institutional 33-year of late-night register of someone for whom the suspension is not the end of a sentence but the comma. The specific, documented FCC, Nexstar, ABC canceled truth social comma that a president spent 6 days trying to turn into a period, and that Kimmel, sitting back down at the desk, converted back into a comma with 3 words. As I was saying, he said it in the voice of the institution, not the institution of ABC, which had complied, not the institution of Nexstar, which had preempted, the institution of the thing that does not require a network license to continue existing. The specific 30-year-old, 200-year-old American institution of a person saying, from a public platform, in a public voice, to a public audience, the thing that they are saying. The institution that the FCC's easy way, hard way formulation was designed to threaten. The institution that Letterman had named as bigger than a guy doing a talk show, which meant, in the specific, flat, wry, 33-year of late-night register, that the guy doing the talk show was not separate from the institution, but was, in the documented specific of the situation, its most legible current representative. Trump posted that night, I can't believe ABC fake news gave Jimmy Kimmel his job back. He said the White House had been told the show was canceled. He said he was going to test legal options. He did not address, as I was saying, he did not address Mario Puzo. He did not address Letterman's institution of the president should be bigger than a guy doing a talk show finding. He did not address Obama's capitulation statement. He did not address the 400 ACLU signatories. He did not address Comer's Republican defense. He did not address blatant censorship. He addressed the job, the fake news, the network, the legal test. He left, as I was saying in the record, he left it at full volume. He left it in the specific institutional, comma, not a period register of a man who came back to the desk after 6 days and said, in 3 words, the thing that no all capitals Truth Social post and no FCC easy way hard way formulation and no Nexstar compliance and no ABC preemption had been able to prevent him from saying. As I was saying, the institution of the President of the United States, Letterman had said, ought to be bigger than a guy doing a talk show. The institution of a guy doing a talk show, it turned out, was big enough to survive the president trying to cancel it. Big enough to produce, in 6 days of suspension, more institutional testimony to its importance than the preceding 6 years of monologues had produced combined. The ACLU letter, the Obama statement, the Letterman Atlantic Festival address, the Colbert blatant censorship finding, the Comer Republican defense, the international coverage, the Mario Puzo line, all of it produced by the 6-day cancellation that Trump posted about in all capitals and called great news for America, as I was saying, is the 3-word complete and final response to great news for America. Delivered not in anger, not in performed defiance, not in the escalating all capitals residence midnight register of a man who is treating the confrontation as a war. Delivered in the flat, wry, completely unbothered, as I was saying, register of a man who was in bed taking nourishment for 6 days and who came back to the desk and picked up the sentence where the comma had left it and continued saying the thing he had been saying. The thing he has been saying since 2015. The thing the administration has been trying to stop since 2019. The thing that has survived the low-life posts, and the failing ratings posts, and the network embarrassment posts, and the FCC chair, and the Nexstar preemption, and the ABC indefinite hiatus, and the canceled all capitals Truth Social post, and the White House briefing, and the I can't believe they gave him his job back post. The thing he is still saying, as I was saying. Subscribe right now. Turn on every notification, because the sentence is still running, and every comma the administration converts back to a period. Kimmel converts back to a comma in the flat, wry, completely unbothered, taking nourishment register of a man who has been saying the same thing since 2015 and who, by the documented evidence of everything the administration has deployed against it, has every intention of continuing to say it.